last night, the Pellies, how about it, dude? Pelicans playing what is the top team in the West? Am I wrong here, Mario?
Yes, first seed at the moment.
Okay, they are the first seed at the moment. Okay, I was double checking. Yeah, going on the road to Minnesota and really handling a very good Minnesota Timberwolves team beginning to end, and finishing the fight against a very good team, something that recently the Pelicans have let a couple slip away in which they've had these big third quarter leads. That was nice to see. Brandon Ingram really set the tone in that first half. Zion Williamson kind of carrying it through the second half. CJ was excellent. The team's working in concert, and you have a Pelicans team that is now 21-14, 7 games above 500, 7-3 in their last 10, and they're starting to climb out of the mud a little bit, right?
But 9 of their last 12, Mario.
Yes.
And the 3 losses combined 5 points.
Yes.
And in those 3 losses, how much of the ones where they blew like 20-point leads as well? Like, weren't they playing well within those games?
Yeah, you see the progress for sure. I agree with everything you're saying. Like, the coaching staff's doing a much better job doing adjustments. The starting 5 has kind of been up and down, but in this stretch, they've been awesome. Like that first group with Herb and Jonas and CJ and BI and Zion. Like, we talked about it a couple months ago. And I told you, Ingram and Zion, it's nice to see them finally on the court together, but it still looks clunky, right? Now with the added reps, it's starting to look less clunky, and the role players are playing well. The big three's fitting in where they're supposed to, and it's been really fun to watch. Still early, still January 4th, but the last 12 games, you've definitely seen the progress.
Yeah, and well, and again, it all feels more sustainable and less like they're on just some kind of heater like they went on last season. And I say climb out of the muck because I feel like now for the better part of a decade, I've just watched the Pelicans battle in the 7 to 10 to 11 range, where generally when you look at the NBA standings, it's around like the top like 4 to 6 seeds. There's going to be like a pretty significant gap record-wise between them and then everybody else who's kind of fighting for the dregs. And then we had the play-in come about. And the Pelicans, it's just so nice to see them here. Now, they're only the 6th seed. Like, they're right on the edge of it. But, like, they're 21-14. And the Rockets of the 8th seed are 17-15. So there is a gap developing, right? And then you got the Suns at 18-16. Lakers 17-18 right behind them. And so if they can maintain this kind of 7-3, 6-4 pace, all of a sudden, we won't be talking about play-in or will you make the playoffs. No, it'll start to become conversations about, okay, what can you do when you make the playoffs? And, knock on wood, healthy right now. So I think things feel as good and sustainable right now as I can ever remember watching this Pelicans franchise.
Yeah, you got the second longest winning streak in the NBA right now. Only the Pacers have a longer winning streak. They've won 5 in a row. You've won 4 in a row. And to be able to bounce back from really, the heartbreak back-to-back games you had against the Grizzlies and you had against the Rockets, that is incredibly difficult to come back from. But since then, they've beaten the Jazz, the Lakers, the Nets, and then on the road against the Timberwolves. And so, that's a sign for me of growth because oftentimes in years past, you would see the 2 games that they lost, the way that they lost those games, and then here comes you're losing 4 of your next 5.
And, again, this comes at a time when the success comes at a time when you got all your guys, For the most part, everybody is healthy, so you have to hope that you can keep, knock on wood. I
don't like that you've knocked on wood twice during this Pelicans talk.
How can you? It's almost like I shouldn't even probably be mentioning it out loud, right? Because you've kind of been trained. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But at a certain point, we have to be confident and face the day with our chest puffed out and courage in our hearts.
Yeah. One of the things we were talking about was what's the rotation look like because they had so many people. You felt like we're capable of going out there and giving you good minutes. It's one of the deepest rosters in the NBA. Now that Larry Nance is back, it feels like you're going to have your 5 starters, and it's going to be Nance, it's going to be Jose, and it's going to be Dyson Daniels, and then a little bit of Najee Marshall. Like, he feels like maybe an 8.5-man rotation, Mario.
I'm one of the bigger Najee Marshall fans, and I'm okay with less minutes for him. I'm with you. And Alvarado looks like Jose Alvarado again.
He finally looks healthy again.
I think the injuries to him the last couple of years were a little underrated. Like, the Pelicans missed him, and coming back this season, he was a little slow coming out of the gates. But now you see his jump shot falling. I'm sure y'all saw what he did to LeBron the other day with the 3 steals. That was a lot of fun to watch. And the role players are fitting in, but now the big kind of 5, like the starting 5, you're finally starting to see the continuity. Like, we know those guys can play, but they're starting to look like a team.
Well, they look confident playing with each other. Like, oh, no, we are badass, and our 5 is better than your 5, and we understand each other's strengths and weaknesses and how to operate off each other. Yeah, you see continuity, chemistry. They're in a flow state that's rare to have seen, that you haven't seen that group in up to this point yet.
Yes, you got to credit Willie Green, and you got to credit those guys. Like, everybody has bought into the team. Everybody has improved at something, even at this stage in the season. Like, Zion's doing a much better job on defense and with his rebounding. A lot more aggressive there. The Pelicans are getting a lot more easy baskets because of that. Brandon Ingram on defense has been really good too. Had a couple nice blocks yesterday. Hasn't had enough blocks this season, but you see that improving. Herb Jones starting to shoot the 3. Like, you could see he's in the gym with Fred Vinson. Hit 3 more last night, I believe. Teams,
4,
teams are starting to respect that shot, and that is massive for Zion and BI and for CJ. Valanciunas passing out of double teams, that's something that he's really come a long way in. The ball movement's a lot better when he's on the court. That's been a weakness of his. And then finally, CJ McCollum playing off the ball. Like, if you watch the games and see CJ when he does not have the basketball, he always gets in guys' sight lines. He always is where he needs to be, and he's playing really, really well as an off-ball shooter. He got us in trouble a lot last year with too much dribbling. So that's been really nice to see. Everybody's brought into the team. Everybody has improved at something.
Look, I got to be honest. I think the biggest thing for this team, it's something we're not talking about, and it's because we expected it to be better than it was. But early in the year, this team was awful from the free throw line. I mean, I'm talking like 50% as a team from games earlier in the year. This is a couple games in a row now. They've been over 80%. They're actually 88% last night as a team, because when you looked at it earlier in the year, their field goal percentage, like from the field, wasn't bad. It was that free throw line that was killing them, and they've been over 80% for a lot of games now, and that's been big for them.
What about we're no concern over Trey Murphy, right? Missing last night just because there's a back-to-back, maybe something nagging.
Yeah, it looks like something naggy. It's a little sketchy just because he was finally back and finally, a key part of the rotation. And now Hawkins is getting minutes, which I'm excited about, but it's only because Murphy is not playing.
They called him and Kyra because of Murphy being out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And eventually I feel like you need to get Jordan Hawkins on the court. It reminds me of Trey Murphy, his rookie year a couple years ago. Feels like we're doing the same thing. But hey, the starters playing well is the main development.
But again, like you use the word need, but where do you take from?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think you want to get Hawkins on the court, but it's just who are you going to take off to put him on?
Exactly.
I think if you get Murphy and you get Hawkins on the court, let's take last night's game, then I think Daniel's minutes would probably go from 24 to 14. I think Najee's would probably go from 14 to 7, and Nance would probably go from 22 to 15.
Well,
I think you see something like that.
It sucks to say because he's been playing so good. Alvarado's numbers probably come down a little bit too.
Yeah, he wouldn't play 20. He wouldn't play 27.
No, he's been 27. He's been great on defense, but you got to get Hawkins involved. The good thing about it is Hawkins only played 3 minutes, and McCollum and Herb Jones when a combined 8 for 11 from 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Hawkins was out there to shoot 3. So while you want to get him on the court more, these other guys are knocking down 3s, so you're not missing him quite as much.
And I know this is, and really, I feel like now, and this without looking at the stats, just through kind of osmosis and watching, I feel like where do the Pelicans rank in something like three-point percentage and 3 points made? Because I feel like they've really shot it well all year long. Now, maybe that's because they've been so bad in the past that even if they're average, it feels great. But like I've said it multiple times this season, I feel like this is the first time where I've seen the Pelicans actually look like a functional modern day NBA team when it comes to how dangerous you have to be behind the
I think
three-point line?
they're 11th in the NBA.
Okay,
37.3%.
Great. What about like attempts and makes?
That's the less encouraging part. They're still 26 in attempts per game. So they're making it a higher clip, which is exciting. And they're still winning.
I don't hate that, though.
No, and I don't hate it either. Like, I don't think it's a glaring problem. The coaching staff knows what they're doing. Everybody that's going into game is contributing. But, it's the NBA. Eventually, good offense is going to beat good defense, right? And especially in a playoff scenario, you want to have as much shooting out there as possible.
They're sixth in the NBA in field goal percentage, though.
Yeah.
So they're shooting the ball
hyper efficient
incredibly
offense.
well.
I mean, Zion was
Zion's, yeah.
11 to 15 from the field, and it was all in the paint last night.
His
that's who he is.
ability, every time you watch Zion Williamson play, you should get used to it, but his ability to finish around the rim it's like magic. Like, it just shouldn't happen. These scoops hanging in the air, the touch that he shoots with from just insane angles. Like, he can flip it up from his hip and it perfectly kisses the top of the glass and falls in. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's impressive. Later in his career, he's going to need to develop a jump shot, in my opinion. You can't be Ben Simmons, but right now it is working. And the Pelicans are shooting the ball really well. Like, guys that normally are not great three-point shooters, Valanciunas, Herb Jones, are really spreading the floor, and it's been great for Zion.
God, the Pacers are the top offense in the NBA.
Well, Jake, when you got Tyrese Halliburton averaging 26
I was
a
going to
night.
say,
Yeah,
Halliburton's
he's really good.
become like a true superstar,
I'll check.
right?
It's close to 26 a night. right now.
Halliburton, Bruce Brown, Aaron Naismith, Jalen Smith, and Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Carlisle's still a wizard.
Well, and the thing about Miles Turner, if you watch the Pacers, he shoots it a lot better from behind the arc than he did when he was a rookie. That's something he's really evolved in. So, I mean, I'm not surprised they're as good as they are.
Oh, Buddy Hield.
Okay, he's averaging Tyrese Halliburton's averaging 24.9.
Yeah.
So I was not far off from 26.
This is interesting from Champ of the Chat. The 8 of the last 10 NBA titles have been won by teams with top 5 defensive efficiencies. So that'd be a solid. I don't know where the Pelicans rank in that regard, but I feel like they're pretty damn good defensively.
Wow. Touche, Champ. Yeah, they're number 8, I believe, in opponents' point per game. And right now it's working. And touche, Champ. I really appreciate the NBA discourse in the chat there, but it's still the NBA. Like, eventually, good offense is going to be good defense. Let me make this analogy. Herb Jones, one of the best defenders in the league, right? Probably going to be first team all defense. Got isolated with John Morant in a game-winning situation.
Yeah.
Y'all remember what happened. So.
But still, I think it is a thing where most of those championship teams also have great defense.
Well,
right? It's like those Warriors teams from back in the day that were the lineups of doom were number one offensively, but what nobody talked about is they were also number one defensively.
That's what I appreciate.
Of course, they're 73-9.
That's what I appreciate about Willie. He does all the hard things, I feel like, as an NBA coach really well. Motivate players, get the most out of guys that don't have high expectations, be a good defensive coach, but then just basic things, I feel like he gets in his head a little bit.
Well, to your point, Mario, we were talking about them being 12th in three-point percentage, but only 26 in the attempts. Look, for whatever reason, they're just working Jordan Hawkins in slowly. He's going to get more minutes when Trey Murphy gets back. That's going to cut into Alvarado's minutes. As great as Alvarado is, I wouldn't call him a knockdown three-point shooter. He's been better at it.
What, about 35%?
Yeah, that'll cut into Najee and Dyson Daniels' minutes as well a little bit. Neither of them are great three-point shooters. So if you get Murphy back and get Hawkins in the fold, you're already hitting threes. You just don't have the volume right now, but I actually expect that to pick up.
And I would say this, if you're a Pelicans fan and you feel like there's still a lack of recognition, first off, we are still coming out of the football coma. Once that happens, that will pick up. And also, I know this is a dead horse, but the Bally thing remains a disaster. It just remains, it's such a barrier to getting eyes on the games. Now, I love the deal. What is it? 10 games are going to be on Fox 8 along with whatever national games the Pelicans end up getting. And, I mean, y'all saw the numbers. What's Bally's? Christian Clark was tweeting about Bally's reaches 700K, whereas being on Fox 8 goes to 7 million, or something like that. So that's good. That's good, and I'll be glad to see the back of Bally and never have to think about them again when this is all said and done. Because it's not. I feel like it's been disastrous for the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Every local fan base is out here being screwed because the greed of these bad deals that they made to kind of be the local distributor. So. that whenever that is finally done, that will help as well.
It's funny you say that, T-Bob. Like you were like, oh, I'm beating a dead horse. I was at LSU last night doing the coaches show, and the game's on. I'm like, oh, let me turn on the TV. So I'm turning on the TV to LSU. It's not my package and anything. And I'm looking, and I'm like, do they have Bally? Do they have Bally? Do they have Bally? And I was like, oh, they have it. I was like, I didn't think they were gonna have it. So yeah, like I totally understand that.
It's just it remains a big frustration with me, but whatever. It's almost over. It's almost over, and pirate it if you have to.
I have the channel. I have to.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying, but if you don't, I mean, if you have cable, it's not a big deal. But again, a lot of people cut cable and they just straight up don't have any option on YouTube TV, Hulu. Fubo might.
DirecTV Stream is
Fubo does. I
guess
have
it's
I
cable.
Have Fubo,
It is, well, yeah, no, DirecTV Stream. You're right. Technically, DirecTV Stream would be a streaming option, but it's tied through a traditional television company. So yeah, that does have it as well.
Fubo's the streaming package I use. They do have it.
Okay, they do have it. Yeah, Fubo's kind of built their name on sports.
Yes.
I remember paying for Fubo back in the day on top of my regular cable just to get Red Zone, and trying to justify it as a work
love Red
expense.
Zone.
I actually, bro, I got to be honest. I have not watched nearly as much NFL this year, and I think it's just because I'm kind of been footballed out come Sunday, and then I watch the Saints and I fall asleep.